guys? It's your boy Tahsin Abedin, back again with another video, and today we're going to be talking about how you can get really nice cinematic slow motion, best cinematic slow motion in the industry. And I am just so excited about this video because I just love slow motion video, and like they're just so juicy and just so buttery and just so slow and smooth and creamy footage. And you're gonna learn how to get that exact same type of smooth cinematic motion, slow motion video that I do in all of my B-rolls and a lot of my, YouTube videos. So let's get started. So this is how the original clip looks. And this is the cinematic slow motion that we are going to turn it into. Alright, I can't lie to you guys for too long. I gotta tell you the truth. That beginning part that you guys saw, that was not cinematic slow motion. That wasn't slow motion at all, actually. That was just acting. You will actually be learning how to get cinematic slow motion with a program called Adobe Premiere Pro. That's my choice of editing program, video editing program. So I hope you guys use that, or I do know the majority of videographers and cinematographers use that. And then there's Final Cut. I believe Final Cut should be able to do the things that Premiere does, but I just do it in Premiere Pro. So hopefully you could still, follow along if you use Final Cut. There are 3 things, like I said, that I do to make sure to get that best cinematic slow motion. So let's talk about the first one. All right, so the first thing is plan your slow motion footage. Don't just get a random footage and be like, all right, I'm gonna make this slow motion. You gotta plan that stuff out. So this is kind of like a 2-in-1 tip. When you are going out to shoot, plan the footage out that you want to slow down and shoot that footage in a higher frame per second. So if you're going to shoot something that you want to slow down, you want to shoot that at least 60 frames per second, or 120 or 240, or if your camera can do even more, then congratulations, you get a cookie, and yeah, shoot it at higher frames per second. My camera can only do 60 frames per second, so that is what I gotta work with. So I shoot at 60 frames per second and then I slow it down from there. If your camera can't do 60 frames per second, then you can't really get too much of a nice cinematic slow motion. If you shoot at 24 and bring the speed down, it's not going to be as cinematic. It's going to be kind of choppy. Or if you're shooting at 30 and you slow it down, it's going to be kind of choppy. You want to shoot at least minimum 60 frames per second. And hey, smartphones these days, my smartphone actually shoots at much higher frames per second than my camera does, and my camera is like twice the price of my smartphone. So if you have a smartphone, then definitely you can shoot at 60 frames per second. I'm pretty certain about that. So shoot at higher frames per second. That's number 1. And I'm actually going to show you guys in Premiere Pro how to get that cinematic look. So let's jump right into Premiere Pro. So first, what we got to do is go in and get your footage. So top secret password protected butter footage. The password is just double clicking twice and you can get into the folder. So yeah, so I got 3 footages here. I think I'm going to use this one. This one I think was like one of the best ones, and you can see clearly this is not going to be a very good footage, but it was the best at the time that I shot it because I just got my Steadicam and I was playing around with it and I really didn't know how to use it properly. But this is the best steady footage I can get. So import that in, drag and drop. Once that dragged in here, you can double click and play it. You can see how it looks. See that it's going pretty fast. It's not slow motion at all. Looks like shaky bad footage. I was trying to get a nice shot where the camera goes up and then you see the car, and then I started backing up slowly. First thing first, you want to make a new sequence, and how you can do that is Control and N, and this new sequence window comes up. So I'm just gonna call this cinematic slow cinematic slow. What I like to do is I like to go to red camera 1080p and then 23.976. That's the frame rate that will give you the most cinematic look, and then I press OK. So now our sequence right over here is at 23.976, but our footage over here is at 60. Is you want to right click on the clip, you want to go to modify, you want to go to interpret footage. After you go to interpret footage, assume this frame rate. So if I click 23.976, which is what our sequence was at, what we selected, I press OK. This time, now if you look over here, it says 23.976. This is our clip. We went from 60 frames per second to 23.976. So now if we actually drag and drop it onto our sequence, it's actually not going to say that whole, oh, your sequence settings is different from your clip settings. So I'm gonna let go of the mouse, boom, it just dropped. No notification or anything. And now I feel like the slow motion is much better. It's more buttery and smooth. As you can see over here, it's nice and slow. Just play it. So yeah, I just get up and I start walking back, and it's gonna be nice buttery slow motion footage right there. One quick tip I'm gonna add for you guys is if you guys have more than one clip that obviously you guys are going to slow down. So say if I'm gonna bring these two clips, which I'm not going to use, but I'm just gonna bring it into Premiere, and say I wanted to use these two clips into my video as well, I don't have to right click on one individual one and then go to modify and interpret footage and do the 23.976 on one clip. I can actually select both of them and do the same thing: modify, interpret footage, assume frame rate 23.976, boom, and you can see both of them have turned into 23.976. But we're not going to be using these clips, so I'm just gonna delete them. All right, so tip number 2 is actually the easiest tip that I can give you guys, and the easiest thing that you can do in Premiere Pro is getting those black bars. You know, those black bars on the top and on the bottom that give it that really nice cinematic look. How I do it is I get an adjustment layer, so I'll click here, click on adjustment layer, 1920 by 1080 at 23.976, which is our sequence. That's what we want. So we have this adjustment layer, then we can just add it on top of our footage we got over here. Let's drag this out, and right now there's nothing on the adjustment layer, so you don't really see any difference. But then you can go to effects and you can go to crop. This is kind of like a fake black bars. It's not what the camera is actually outputting. As you can see in the footage, this is what you see from the camera. So we're actually going to have to crop some parts of the video. Drag crop from here all the way onto the adjustment layer, and right now we haven't cropped anything, but there is the crop effect on here. You can click on effect controls once you have your adjustment layer clicked, and then you can go to top, and I like to put it at 12.5% for the top, and for the bottom I like to put it at 12.5%. so remember, you're going to lose some information in the video. The top and the bottom, those are going to be gone. So when you are recording your slow motion video, keep that in mind. Okay, I'm gonna add the black bars, so I'm gonna be losing the top and the bottom, so I want to move back or go on a wider angle lens. So keep that in mind, so you know when you're playing it, it's going to look like this. And I don't know why, but it just instantly looks more cinematic than without it. If I just take this off and then put this back on, it just looks so much better in my opinion, right? All right, so the last thing you want to do to get that really nice cinematic smooth slow motion footage is do a little bit of color correction. So if you look over here, I go to Lumetri circle, or Lumetri color, my apologies, and once you're at Lumetri color, I just pretty much play around with the basic corrections. I'm not like, you know, your pro, you know, editor, so I'm not too like sure when it comes to all the color sciences and stuff like that, but I just kind of play with these knobs over here and just whatever looks better to my eye. So I feel like the highlights over here are a little blown out, so I like to bring down the highlights a little bit. So as you can see, when I bring it down, it brings back the blues a little bit. So bring that down a little bit. Contrast, I like to put it up a little bit, so you know the colors really separate from each other. And then the shadows you could bring down to give it a little bit of a darker look, make the shadows a little bit darker. The whites I could bring down just a teeny bit so that the sky doesn't look, you know, overblown. And then I always like to put the saturation just a tiny bit up, just so that you can get more color into the footage. Right over there would be okay. And yeah, it looks good. If I actually go to color wheel match, go to the midtones, maybe get some teal in there, and then go to shadows, Get some teal in there as well, a little bit, and then go to highlights, maybe get some orange, give it that teal and orange type of look. And now let's take a look at this footage and see how it looks. There we go. That's what I'm talking about, guys. That's what I'm... Ooh, look at that Mustang. Jeez, this is looking fresh. This is how you guys are going to get the best cinematic slow motion footage. And I hope I start seeing some footage from you guys. If you guys ever edit something, tag me in that, man. I want to see how it looks. So I really hope you guys learned something from this video today. Please do hit that like button if you did, and hit that subscription button if you're a real one. If you're a real homie, day one, ride or die, hit that subscription button. I'm going to be coming up with more content teaching you guys about cinematography, photography, and video editing, and I really hope you guys can implement this into, you know, the projects that you guys are working on, and I will catch you guys in the next video.